Imagine this. You drop 10 kills, you win your lane, you outplay your matchup, and somehow you still lose. Sound familiar? Well, right now in Mobile Legends, even mechanically strong players are struggling to carry games the way they used to. It's not just you, and it's not just bad teammates either. The game has quietly shifted into a state where individual impact feels lower, and even your best performances don't guarantee wins anymore. Welcome back to Mobile Legends News. Right now in Mobile Legends, carrying just doesn't feel as reliable, even for experienced players or those grinding at high ranks. You can dominate your lane, secure early leads, and still find yourself unable to close out games consistently. That's a huge shift compared to older metas, where one strong player could snowball hard enough to take over the entire match. Today's environment feels different, and more players are starting to notice that individual impact alone isn't enough anymore. So let's break it down, because what's happening right now in Mobile Legends isn't just a skill issue. The game itself has evolved in a way that naturally limits how much one player can take over. If you've been feeling like your impact has dropped even when you're playing well, there are several layered reasons behind it, and they all connect. First, and probably the biggest shift, is an increased team dependency. Modern MLBB is heavily structured around coordinated play, even in rank. Compared to older seasons where a fed core could 1v5 with enough gold and mechanics, today's environment demands synergy. Tanks rotate earlier, supports provide constant vision and sustain, and even side laners are more disciplined about grouping for objectives. This means your individual lead, whether it's gold, kills, or pressure, doesn't translate as cleanly into wins unless your team moves with you. You'll notice this especially when playing jungle or gold lane. You might secure early kills, invade efficiently, and build a strong lead, but if your team doesn't sync with your tempo, that advantage stalls. Meanwhile, the enemy team only needs a few coordinated responses, like collapsing together or trading objectives, to neutralize your momentum. In other words, your performance is now only as strong as your team's ability to capitalize on it. Next, let's talk about stronger comeback mechanics, which have quietly become one of the biggest equalizers in the game. Shutdown gold, objective scaling, and late game death timers all play a role here. If you're dead and make even one mistake, like getting picked off, overextending, or forcing a bad fight, you're often handing over a massive gold swing to the enemy team. That one moment can instantly erase a lead you spent 5 minutes building. This is especially noticeable in games where you dominate early but lose one key Lord fight. The enemy team can secure Lord, push lanes, and suddenly flip the entire map state. The design here is intentional. MLBB wants matches to stay competitive, but the side effect is that carrying requires near-perfect consistency, not just a strong early game. You can't afford those one bad plays anymore. They matter too much. Another major factor is shorter time to kill, which has made positioning far more punishing. Damage across many heroes, especially burst mages, assassins, and even some marksmen, had been tuned to be faster and more decisive. This means fights resolve quicker and mistakes are punished instantly. There's less room to outplay through extended duels because you can be deleted before you can even react. For carries, this creates a difficult balancing act. You need to deal damage to have impact, but stepping forward even slightly out of position can get you instantly eliminated. It's why you'll often feel like you're playing perfectly until one misstep ends your influence in a team fight. And in a game where fights are often decided in seconds, survivability and positioning now matter just as much as raw mechanics. This ties directly into another key shift. Objectives now matter more than kills. In older metas, stacking kills could snowball you into an unstoppable force. But now, kills without objectives don't mean nearly as much. You can go 8-0, but if your team isn't controlling turtles, towers, and lords, that gold advantage doesn't translate into map control. Objectives dictate the pace of the game. Turtles provide team-wide gold and experience boosts, towers open up the map and create pressure lanes, and Lord, especially in the late game, becomes the ultimate win condition. If the enemy team plays around these better, even if they're behind in kills, they can still outscale and outmaneuver you. This is why you'll sometimes lose games where you clearly perform better statistically, but the enemy team simply played smarter around objectives. They traded when necessary, avoided bad fights, and grouped at the right moments. In the current meta, macro decisions outweigh micro outplays. Now, let's address something a lot of players don't expect. Ranked games are more coordinated than before. Even without full communication, players today have a better understanding of rotations, power spikes, and win conditions. The average skill floor has risen. People know when to group, when to defend, and when to force objectives. So when you get fed, enemies don't just keep running into you one by one anymore. They adjust. They play safer, they stick together, they wait for cooldowns, then they target you specifically in fights. This makes it significantly harder to snowball out of control because the game actively shifts into a shut down the carry mindset. You'll often feel this when the enemy suddenly starts layering crowd control on you specifically. One stun leads to another, and before you can react, you're gone. That's not random. It's a result of better overall awareness in the player base, and it means that being ahead actively puts a target on your back, forcing you to play even more carefully. Another important piece of the puzzle is role limitations. Not all roles are designed to carry equally anymore, and even the ones that can require proper team follow-up. Take marksmen for example. They scale incredibly well into the late game, but they rely heavily on positioning, protection, and frontline setup. Without a tank creating space or a support providing heal, even the strongest marksman can get shut down instantly. Assassins, on the other hand, thrive on picking off targets, but struggle in extended team fights if the enemy stays grouped. Fighters can dominate side lanes, but may lack the burst to end fights quickly. Mages provide utility and damage, but often depend on landing key abilities at the right moments. What this means is that no single role can consistently 1v5 without some level of team coordination. Your impact is tied to how well your role functions within the team's overall composition. Even if you're playing perfectly, you're still working within those boundaries. There's also the growing influence of utility and hybrid builds, which makes heroes harder to kill and more versatile in fights. Players are no longer going full blast cannon, they're building sustain, defense, and utility while maintaining damage output. This makes fights longer in terms of survivability, but deadlier in terms of coordination, since everyone has tools to contribute. As a result, you're not just dealing with one fed enemy anymore. You're dealing with a team that can all survive longer, disrupt more, and respond better. This reduces the effectiveness of pure snowball strategies and reinforces the idea that team-wide strength matters more than individual dominance. And finally, there's a psychological factor that often gets overlooked. When carrying was easier, players developed habits around forcing plays, taking risks, and relying on mechanics to win fights. But in the current meta, those same habits can backfire. Overextending, diving too deep, or trying to solo objectives can quickly turn into throw moments. The game now rewards patience, discipline, and decision-making over raw aggression. And if you haven't fully adjusted to that shift yet, it can feel like you're doing everything right, but still losing. So when you put all of this together, like increased team dependency, stronger comeback mechanics, faster time to kill, objective-focused gameplay, better coordination and rank, and stricter role limitations, you start to see the full picture. Carrying isn't impossible, it's just fundamentally different right now. Struggling to carry in today's Mobile Legends doesn't automatically mean players are getting worse. It reflects how much the game itself has changed. The modern meta is built around teamwork, consistency, and disciplined objective control rather than raw individual dominance. Even highly skilled players now need coordinated setups, smarter decision-making, and stronger macro awareness to convert leads into wins. Carry potential still exists, but it's no longer just about solo brilliance. It's about how well you operate within a team-driven system. Now I want to hear from you. Are you also feeling the struggle to carry in this meta? Drop your experiences in the comments and tell me which role you think still has the highest solo impact right now. Is it jungle, gold lane, or something else entirely? Let's compare notes and break it down together. Till next time.